Hello everyone, welcome back to another homeschooling video on homeschooling the herd. My name is Shannon. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining me. Today is co-op day, and sometimes I have Bible study on co-op days in the morning before co-op. Other days I don't. We kind of rotate back and forth between weeks. Today is a no Bible study day, so we are still at home this morning. We'll leave here around 11 o'clock to head to our co-op. But I've got a little bit of time, and I just finished doing math and language arts with all of the kids. I have everyone on the days that we don't have Bible study do their math, their language arts, their reading. So we just finished that. And now I've decided to take the binding off of my Phonics Pathways book, and I'm going to spiral bind this instead. It will help it to lay open, flat, easier. It'll be easier to turn the pages, and I just think it'll be more convenient to have it spiral bound than have it in this binding. So thought I would show you guys how I'm going to do that. I believe I've done this one time before and it turned out fine, so hopefully this time I don't have any problems. But let me get all my things set up and then I'll show you how to do this. I am using this book to teach my first grader and my fifth grader reading. I needed to mark the spots where they are in the book, so I just folded over, did a little dog ear on the corner of the page. And then to cut the pages and the binding off of this book, I'm going to use an X-Acto knife. This knife comes with several different tips, and I started with this one that just has the blade on the very end there at an angle. But I decided after a little while of using that one to switch it out for a blade that actually has, is sharp on the entire bottom side of the blade. So that way I could just run the whole knife along the edge of the binding and cut it off without having to hold the knife up at like straight up in the air so that that tip was getting to the paper. It just wasn't cutting very well. So I switched it out for that rounded blade that you can see there in the case and used that to cut with, and that actually worked a lot better and went much quicker, and I was able to get through more pages all at once. So the things that I'm using for this is some quilting supplies. Actually, I've got my fabric cutting mat underneath my book, and then I am using a quilting ruler that I use for cutting fabric when I make quilts. And I'm just holding that right where the pages bend when we open the book. So this book has been used several times. We use it every day for the last several weeks. And so it had a nice crease in there where the pages bend at when we open the book. So I am just cutting it off right there at that crease. And that still leaves me enough room on the page to hole punch without knocking out any words off the page. I will leave a link for all of these supplies down in the description box. That link is an affiliate link, and I just make a little bit of money when you choose to purchase through my link. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps me and is a huge blessing for my family. So if there's something in here that you see that you want to buy, make sure you check down in the description box for a link for these supplies. So as you're cutting these pages, you want to make sure that you leave them in order, and that way once you run them through the hole puncher, they're still in order and you can just spiral bind them without having to mess with putting them all back in the right place. I just like to flip mine with the front side of the page down, and that way when I pick the whole thing up, I've got the entire book all in order and ready to be spiral bound. My book is cut apart. I just flipped it upside down to keep it in order, so I've got it all still in order. I'm going to grab my spiral binder. I will have a link for all of these things in the description box, all of the supplies that I'm using to do this with, but I need to grab my binder and then we will get this put back together with a spiral on it.
Okay, let me see. And I gotta finish this before we go co-op. because I'm showing Chloe this. Chloe's not going to be there.
Alright, this is my spiral binder, and I've had it for a lot of years. I have used it a ton. It is a bit of an investment, but it has been worth it for me with our large family because I buy as many curriculum as available on PDF whenever I need it, and that way I can reuse it with all of my kids. So I've got my handle attached here. I also have bought different sizes of coils over the years. I'm going to use this one. I can't remember what size it is, but it should fit around my book over there.
Oh yeah, can I do it?
Alright, so first thing, I'm going to take the cover and put it in here.
Can I please?
Actually, I'm going to get a piece of scrap
Can I
paper.
please help you, Mom?
Guys, I don't need help right this minute, but whenever I am going to be pushing the handle down, then I'll call you over. On the side of my spiral binder right here, there's this little latch that pulls in and out. And I don't remember what size is which, so I'm going to do a test punch with this scrap piece of paper. This is to catch all of the little pieces of circle paper that fall out. So we'll start with it all the way out and see what it looks like.
Jump off and then I try to.
Okay, looks like that one is the farthest out, so I'm actually going to push it all the way in.
Can I try?
We will get started.
Now I get
Alright,
to
go ahead and pull it down.
start. You have to start. Let's go. I fall down.
I hit your legs too.
I know. I can't.
Mom.
What? Once you have all of the glue binding cut off of your book, you're going to start back at the beginning again and run it through the hole punch. So you want to make sure that you are hole punching the correct side of the pages. I actually got to the end of this book, and the very back cover I hole punched the wrong side. So my back cover has got holes running down both sides of it because I just flipped it around and did the other side. But make sure as you're laying these in your hole puncher that you're putting them in there the right direction. My hole puncher will punch like 15-ish pages at one time, so it can go pretty quick if your book is not too big or you don't have too many pages that you are going to bind into a book. But I just work from the top of the stack of pages or the beginning of the book and then work my way down hole punching. When I was cutting the binding off, some of my pages got a little bit crooked, and so I just took some scissors as I came along those and flattened them out a little bit. If you leave the edges rough like that where they're not smooth, they won't fit underneath the hole punch very well, and then you'll end up with only half of a hole punched on your page and it won't stay in the coils, which is a pain. I have done that before. So you want to make sure that you are getting them pushed all the way into the hole punch so that the holes go through the paper and not the edge of the paper. So now what I do next is I empty my trash box, because if I don't, then I sometimes forget it's there and then I make a huge mess that I have to clean up. Dump that into the trash can, put it back. Now we will bind our book together with our coil. Once you have all your pages hole punched, getting started putting in the coil is a little bit difficult, but once you get it in the first couple holes, then the rest of the holes will line themselves up pretty easily. So I take my stack of paper and I just bang it on the table a little bit to line all of the pages up really well. And then it takes some time to get this coil started through the first hole at the bottom of your book. I just take little sections at a time and push it up onto the coil if I can't get it all to go on there at once. And then once that's lined up, the other holes start lining up together a lot easier, and the process goes quite a bit faster once they're lined up. The thicker your book is, the thicker or the longer it takes to get the coil put in there. And my binding machine actually comes with a little rubber roller that's automatic on the top of it. I have tried to use that thing, and the only way that it will actually work is if your holes are perfectly lined up with one another in every single hole, and you can hold your pages perfectly still so that none of them move. So it really is useless. It doesn't do any good. So if you are looking at coil binders and one of them has a little automatic binder on the top, I would not recommend getting that one because they don't work as well as you would think they would. So I just take little sections at a time and hook them onto the start of this coil. And then once that is all on there, I will bang the pages together again to make sure they're all in place. I like to give them a little shake. I do that a lot as I am rolling this coil down the book. I just give all the pages a little shake to get them to move into place easier. And then this gives you a bit of a muscle workout. I'm constantly changing positions whenever I'm doing this because it does take a little bit of time just getting them all worked in the same place. But keep working and rolling and twisting until you have the entire coil down the length of the binding of your book. Alright, once you have the coil all the way down through your spine of your book, you're going to pinch the end of it to fold it in half like this, and that way it keeps the books from twisting off of the coil. The other end will probably have some of the coil left on there, and you just want to cut off most of that, leave enough that you can bend the end of the coil to block the pages from falling off. And once you do that, you are done. Alright, so there you have it. I am done making this into a spiral bound book. It will be a lot easier to open this up, lay it flat, fold it over for whenever I am working with my boys, and it'll just be more convenient to use this way. But in all, that took me about 20-ish minutes probably. With the interruptions and helping kids, it was about 30 minutes. But it's pretty simple process. It just takes a little bit of time, but it saves you some money in the long run if this is something that you want to do often, or if you don't have access to a store who will do this for you. So hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.